So in today's Enlisted video, this is pretty much going to show you guys what Enlisted was planning to be at the very early stages of Enlisted, as well as a video to catalog this kind of stuff for the future if anyone ever wants to, come back and kind of see what Enlisted was about. So this is going to be a Q&A from the 2016/2017 thing of Enlisted. So the reason it is 2016 and 17 is because 2016 this Q&A was released. In 2017, some of the questions on it were actually updated to better fit what was happening within the game. And so the answers to those questions actually changed. So we're going to talk about both of those answers because it is kind of interesting to see what this game came from. So now with this Q&A being most things have already changed within the game. They have different ideas of what they want to go after. Some have stayed and some have never come. And maybe some of these that have never come, we can maybe, ask these questions now in, the present and see if they actually come to the game. So the first question is, what is this game about? So Enlisted is an MMO squad-based shooter featuring some of the most famous episodes of World War II. So that's, basically the first question. And the second one I want to talk about is what I'm going to do with some of these questions, which are more than 5 paragraphs long. I understand a bunch of people don't want to sit here and listen to me read it. So I'm going to place it on the screen so you'll be able to read it yourself. But I'm going to basically summarize it into maybe a couple sentences of what each one of these questions answers that are paragraphs long. So what is the difference from an MMO World War II shooters? You have a squad of troops. So this is a summarization of this. You have a squad of troops. You go around in historical battles being cool. Yes, I summed this up very well from this whole page worth of paragraphs. It's basically what they say in this. So the next question is what about matchmaking? Will we have an option to create our own servers with our own rules? Matchmaking on the rating servers will be based on player skill. So this will be talked about in a later question, but this is skill-based matchmaking. With an opportunity to make a squad, meaning that you'll invite your friends to play in the same team. Private rooms, which is pretty cool. Private rooms, I think, should come to the game. And I think that will. I think this basically means custom rooms. We'll have no rating. We plan to develop an option for the players to create their own scenarios for their private rooms. But at the moment, this is not a priority task. So with this question, as well as this question from a recent Q&A was talking about custom battles. And they also said it was not a priority task right now. So at least they have been thought about way before that Q&A happened. And so after, so many years, 2017, right, of them saying that custom battles aren't priority, it's pretty long. Maybe we'll get some more in the future. So the next question is pretty interesting because I believe this question came because of Cuisine Royale. So if you know, Cuisine Royale is a third-person game, and with this question is, will it be first-person or third-person view? Currently, we have both. So if you didn't know, Enlisted was going to be third-person and first-person, but we think that first-person view should be the primary option. In some cases, third-person is more comfortable, especially for new players, but first-person view provides more immersion. So how many soldiers will be in one battle? 120 to 150. This is kind of a redundant question, not really going to cover it, but you can see it on the screen and you can pause it to read it. Is Enlisted going to be 100% historically accurate? No, it's a game, not real life. So no, there's your answer. How do you plan to protect the game against cheaters? So easy anti-cheat stuff is server side. So really bad hacks like God mode can't happen. Game replay and reporting, private rooms, So if you want to make your own rooms, you can make them where hackers can't come in. And if you have a hacker, you can kick him, I assume. Will there be the opportunity to control vehicles? With this question, there's actually 2 answers, one from 2016 and one from 2017, where it was changed. The 2016 one said no, which you're seeing now on the screen, and the 2017, it was actually put as the developer goal, which I think is kind of crazy of how that can change within a year. So what are the system requirements? For back then, it was a literal toaster. Today, it's still a literal toaster, but the recommended settings are not quite a toaster. So they did increase them a little bit for the recommended, but they did still keep some of the original system requirement. Why do you show how much money you have gathered? So this question will tie into another video that will be coming out that will be similar to this video about Enlisted's history that I'm going to be making. But TLDW Enlisted had its own Kickstarter type thing on its own website. They got money from the community, and they kind of displayed the money that they got. And with this money, they was able to fund campaigns for it. So what sum is needed for a successful campaign? The minimum is 250 USD for one campaign, which is pretty interesting to know. I believe like now with, probably more staff that they have now that they have to pay, 250 is probably really low for compared to what they would want to make now. That's pretty interesting at the very early stages of Enlisted. $250,000 could get you a whole campaign. Pretty interesting. The next question is, what will access to the campaign look like? Will I need to install each campaign as a separate game? What paid options will there be or be available? I'm confused by this answer, as you can read it yourself. I'm not sure what this answer really means, because it is kind of like, corporate jarbo, but the way I took it is that we don't want to pay for DLC, or they don't want people to pay for DLC, make it free and then make people pay to progress in the game. I assume that's what they mean by this answer to this question. The next question is a question that is actually pretty, cool, because it was actually changed in 2016 from 2017. So the question is this game paid or is it free to play? So this is still an interesting question. So the 2016 answer is said it will be a game on Steam, which would be a paid price. In 2017, they now changed it to say that there was a poll to decide it would be a free to play game. So this was very interesting. Recently with Enlisted, they have said that, Enlisted may never come to Steam. They don't really rule it out yet, but with 2016 and 2017, they pretty much were guaranteeing this game would come to Steam. Right now, it's kind of in the air if it ever will. So what happens to my money if the game isn't released? You get your money back on the Gaijin website. I assume this doesn't apply anymore. I believe they have already passed their development stage where they would give money back. So I believe, that's one of those things that's kind of like, lost in the wind now. And, this video will be here to, keep it safe. So what about video game consoles? Give us $1 million and you get console ports. Basically what this says. So I think they did hit this on their initial Kickstarter campaign, if I remember correctly. And so with that, we got, console support, which was really cool. And, people from, PlayStation and Xbox would be able to play the game. That is one thing that I've not been able to find. And if any of you have that information, it would be welcome to send it to me either on, my email in the description of this video, or if you can find me on Discord, send it to me that way. Of the Kickstarter campaign levels that were met during the end of the Kickstarter campaign. If you have any screenshots of that, please send it to me. So when will the game or the first campaign levels be released? This really just talks about the stages of the Enlisted development. The timeline that they had on this was pretty wrong whenever it came to whenever they wanted to, get the game into open beta and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of typical with, new games, because they don't really meet deadlines as often as they should, which could be a bad thing or a good thing, depending on, how polished the game is, how, ready it is to ship. And we can see from here that they wanted to put it in 2017, but the game just now in 2021 was able to come to OBT. So here's a pretty interesting question. The interesting question is not really related to this question at all, but the answer is really interesting. So why is Enlisted not a part of Warthunder? So this is going to sum up the first part of this, which I don't really care about. It's basically saying Enlisted is focused on the battle itself instead of equipment. Like Warthunder is pretty much, based around the equipment, like planes and tanks and stuff. The important thing to take out of this answer, though, is that they talked about skill-based matchmaking. And if you don't know what skill-based matchmaking was, it is a type of matchmaking system that kind of puts people against a clone of themselves in a way. So they take people's stats and they want to get the closest match they can to be an even as possible. The next thing I want to talk about is I don't think skill-based matchmaking is enabled in Enlisted right now, but at some point it was planned. And if I would have to guess, during the 2019-2020 years, when skill-based matchmaking started to become a game-killing word for many FPS games, they got rid of it. Because if you try to find any of this information now on the Enlisted website, you will not find it. The way you will be able to find this type of stuff is on this website called the Wayback Machine, which I'll leave in the description of the video of this link where you can go view these questions yourself. But even when I first seen back in like 2019, 2020 of this Q&A, this killed the game for me. I was personally not going to play it if it was true, if the skill-based matchmaking was in the game. I think if skill-based matchmaking is enabled at some point during Enlisted's development cycle, or they feel like skill-based matchmaking is needed, I don't think I'll want to play the game anymore. I mean, Enlisted to me is like a casual game you blow off Steam, and I played Enlisted on a competitive level 2 times, once for 24 hours straight and once for 8 hours in the content creator challenges. Both of those times I hated the game, and I didn't hate the game because the game was bad or anything. I just hated that I felt like I needed to play to perfection whenever I wanted to just run around, just kind of do cool stuff every once in a while, and have fun. But it was every game I was looking at the scoreboard, how many kill counts can I get over 100, and it kind of didn't feel like Enlisted. And hopefully this never comes to game, and if it does, it's going to be something that questions if I'm ever going to play Enlisted again. So the next question is, Warthunder's machinery pretty well. Can we expect similar levels of detail for vehicles for Enlisted? They have Gaijin helping, so yes. That's basically the answer to this question. Will Enlisted be connected to other games? For example, Warthunder, economically, maybe achievements that unlock certain content in other games, common login, etc. I assume this no longer counts, but it's pretty cool they thought about actually combining Warthunder and Enlisted because they were both World War II. So I presume the game will have all sorts of achievements, rewards, and other content that brings diversity to the game. Do you plan to add some unusual features to these mechanics? We would like to create an opportunity to barter weapons and characters between players. This would be something new for warfare games. If the players are interested in this, it would bring significant diversity to the game. Now, this is interesting because this sounds like Tarkov, but with World War II and an Enlisted. So, would you be able to sell other players your equipment, or will you be able to give them your equipment that you no longer need? This sounds very interesting, and hopefully they keep this whenever it comes to today. So this is the end of this Q&A for Enlisted, and the next video I'm going to be talking about is another one of these types of like history videos with Enlisted, but it's going to be talking about the Kickstarter campaign, what you could get, the community polls that people got to vote on. And one of these questions for the community poll was a pretty interesting question, because it was a question of what campaign would you want to see in the game. And it would be kind of a worthless question if it was a write in your own answer, but they gave multiple choice multiple choice answers, and many of these campaigns on this list was like something Darkflow was thinking that they could make. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.